All right. Hello. Today is November 24th, just a few days from Thanksgiving. And I'm Dr. William Painter with Journey Road Ministries, here to welcome you and slide you into the great feast day of American culture. Today's song is one I'm certain you've never heard before. It is a Thanksgiving song, and it's by a group called Poi Dog Pondering. I think they're probably defunct now. This was one of my favorite songs years ago, many years ago. It still is. It still is my favorite song. So I'm just gonna start and sing it. It's called Thanksgiving, and it's by Poi Dog Pondering. And then after this, we'll come back. It's coming. all the way. I don't think I made a single mistake. Thanksgiving. I'll come back after the flip side and we'll talk about something maybe not more serious. Anyway, see you. Okay, Dr. William Painter here again. The guitar is put away. You can see him resting comfortably, safe out of reach. And our commentary today, our gospel today, comes from John chapter 18, verses 33 through 37. Then Pilate entered the headquarters again, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. If my kingdom belonged to this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." Thus endeth the gospel. Well, what an interesting passage. Has been interpreted and reinterpreted for centuries upon centuries, and I think that it has probably been misinterpreted more than properly interpreted. Jesus does not claim to be a king, and Jesus plays these lovely word games with Pilate. He's a very, very clever man. Pilate says, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus said, "Well, do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Now, at that point, it's pretty clear that Jesus is in charge of this situation. All right, he has taken the power out of Pilate's hands and taken it into his own, with just a very turn of a phrase. And Pilate said, "I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" And Jesus says, "My kingdom does not belong to this world." Okay? So he's not challenging Pilate. He's not challenging the emperor. He's not challenging Herod. He's not challenging anybody. He says, "My kingdom doesn't belong to this world. If it did, my followers would be fighting for me, but as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" And Jesus says, "You say that I am a king, but I was born to testify to the truth, and everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." He does not claim to be a king. He claims that his kingdom is not of this world. But he does not claim to be a king. That's what Pilate has claimed. That is what the Jews have claimed. And it is upon that basis that Pilate beats the man, humiliates the man by putting a crown of thorns on his head, dressing him in purple, which is royal colors. And on the crucifix upon which he is nailed, he writes, "Inri, Jesus Nazarensis Rex Judensis," I think. Yeah, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. My Latin's a bit rusty. And the priest didn't want that on there, and Pilate says, "Well, I've written what I've written, and that's it." And basically, Pilate is forcing the Jews or Jesus is putting the Jews in a position of saying, the emperor is more important. The emperor, we are loyal to the emperor and not to anything else. And that is a heresy. He has forced the Jews to commit a heresy, a crime, because they are supposed to be loyal only to God, not to the king, not to the Roman emperor. And here Jesus has forced them to do that. And as a result, Jesus is put to death. Now, the song I played for you, "Thanksgiving for All the Wrong Moves," don't know if you could make out the words of my very poor singing. But it is too often in our lives we judge ourselves based upon our successes. You know, I have a good job, I make good money, I have a new car, I buy a big house. These were all success. I had a successful product launch. I wrote a successful essay or a successful book. These are all good things. And we tend to gloss over the negative aspects or failures. But this song celebrates those failures. Those songs say, if it wasn't for the wrong moves I made, our paths wouldn't have crossed. Let's review them real quick. Somehow I find myself far out of line from the ones I have drawn. Very simply put, sometimes I find myself in places I didn't plan on. It wasn't the best of paths. You could attest to that. But I'm keeping on. Would our paths cross if every great loss had turned out our gain? Would our paths cross if the pain it had cost us was paid in vain? Now, we often like to say, well, you know, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, or yeah, it was a failure, but boy, there's an upside, there's a silver lining. And what the song is saying is no, it's not. There is no silver. There is a pain that is associated with living out of the lines you've drawn. Okay, there was no pot of gold and hardly a rainbow lighting my way, but I will be true to the red, black, and blues that colored those days. And then he goes on, Thanksgiving for every wrong move. Thanksgiving for every wrong move. That made it right. That made it right. And I think on this, and I think that in a society like ours where we value success and we value doing the right thing, and in fact many of our denominations are very focused on don't make a mistake, don't sin, don't drink, don't smoke, don't, and yet we are human and we make mistakes and we make bad mistakes, and we can't say, well, boy, you know, I made a terrible mistake, but then it was the upside is, and whatever it might happen to be, whatever you make up, whatever you conjure up, the fact is, the pain that you experienced, that's the price you paid for those mistakes. That's the price you paid for the path you were on. And you should accept that and embrace that and realize that that is what has caused our paths to cross. And this is what you see in the passage here in John, that Jesus, he didn't make mistakes, but a series of events led up to his crucifixion, and it was painful. And you can't make a good thing out of it. You can't say, well, look at all the good that came out of it. No, you know, it was excruciating, it was painful, it was terrible. And there's no varnishing that. But if that hadn't happened, if that pain hadn't happened, would our paths have crossed? And I would suggest to you, put it to you, that they wouldn't have crossed. And I think about the people I know, the people who have been alcoholics, or people who have been drug addicts, or people who have been mentally ill, or people who have been abused. And they say, well, you know, look, if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't be so successful today. That's simply not, you know, that's just putting icing on a very bad cake. Recognize the pain, and if it wasn't for that pain, and this song explains it very clearly, if it wasn't for that pain, our paths wouldn't cross. And the focus of this song, and the focus of the passage in the Bible, and the focus of Jesus' entire life was a focus on humanity, on people, on engagement. His audience was always people in pain, and people who were sick, and people who were hurting. And he doesn't say, now that you've experienced that pain, you're a better person. He never says that. He says, because of your pain, our paths have crossed. Just like the song says here. It's the best Thanksgiving song ever, because thanksgiving for all the wrong moves is a heck of a thing to say. Well, that's a short sermon. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And as you're sitting around the table, I hope you give thanks for all the wrong moves. I know I will be. I will be thinking about how grateful I am that all my wrong moves put me in touch with the people who will be sitting around the table with me. God bless, and I'll see you in 3 weeks.